Hello everyone and welcome to In the Back Pocket ahead of round 2 in the footy. I'm joined by two-time All-Australian Nathan Brown, champion darters Daniel Hoyne, and a man who's got over 21,000 followers on the Sportsbet feed, Joshy Jenkins. Hello JJ.
That's the intro I like. That's fantastic. A few winners on the feed last week, some heartbreak with the try and find the 1+ goal kicker in every game. We got all the way to Ethan Reid in the last game, and little Leo Lombard thought it would be a good idea to take advantage from a free kick, so I've got a long memory.
How are you, Browny?
Very good, very good. Another good round of footy coming up. I tell you what, the Bulldogs Adelaide game's going to be an absolute ripper.
Yeah, what did you take out of the first round of everyone playing, Hoyney?
Footy is good to watch. I mean, we've spoken about it at length that 2026 footy is all around can you challenge opposition defensively, and I think that we're seeing that so far, which as neutrals, it's great for us to sit back and watch some exciting footy.
Offence over defence at the moment, it's pretty good, isn't it?
Oh, it's great. And I don't think we've actually mentioned that for probably 10, 15 years, so bring it on.
Well, our job is to challenge the Sportsbet traders and try and make some money. So let's see how we went last week on the punt. Have a look at the piggy banks. I was spraying them because Trent Rivers didn't get near it, but you two were fine, superb. So 2 from 2.
In saying that, it's what you pick as your best bet, because I too was in the Trent Rivers camp and I backed him on another bet, but that was my very best, and Zach Merrett almost had that halfway through the third quarter, which was an easy watch.
And I took the unders on Scott Puntability. I didn't feel great about it, but I just wanted to play the game time. I mean, ultimately, over the course of the season, if you're going to play low game time, it's going to be hard to get big numbers. So we tick that one off and we go again.
Yeah, a 1-for-1 on the racing bet, by the way, as well.
Yes,
we might have to get a little profit and loss for that, seeing as though we're in front. What's your best this weekend, JJ?
I found this a difficult weekend. Again, a lot of bets that you're 7 out of 10 on, not many that you're absolutely 10 out of 10 on. I can't believe I'm going to do this. I'm going to breathe deeply here. North Melbourne, the Kangas, back-to-back for the first time in ages. And we'll get to it a little bit later, but they just stack up in terms of what they should be able to do, Hoyney, around the ball against West Coast. West Coast putrid, last in most categories around the footy. If North can replicate what they did last week around the footy against better opposition, they should be covering 2 goals.
Yeah, they should be covering it and covering it comfortably. I mean, if we expect North to get to that 8-win mark, 10-win mark this season, they go to WA with the midfield strength that they have and the midfield concerns that West Coast had and get it done pretty comfortably.
My best bet is Dylan Stephens. Now, I don't think I've ever bet on Dylan Stephens up until last week, but he had 29 disposals. He's taken a long time to get to where he is, and it's been frustrating for a lot of people and a lot of people at football clubs. But I reckon he's just found that the magic of where he needs to play. He's got confidence in his own ability at the moment. I don't think he's ever had that. He's been in and out of the side, on and off the ground. But the wing position suits him now. Outside the MCG, Optus is the best place to play the wing. It is wide, there's a lot. And West Coast give up a lot of disposals, particularly last year to wingmen. So Dylan Stephens, over 21+ disposals. You're getting a good price for him.
Yeah, and the talent's there. I mean, I think he was pick 5 in the draft for Sydney, who typically draft really well. So maybe just a slow developer.
Sometimes the penny drops.
Yeah, that's right. Maddie, your best bet?
Well, we've seen lots of high scoring across the first couple of weeks of footy. So Adelaide and the Dogs, I think this could be a shootout on Friday night at the Adelaide Oval. When these two sides met last time, it was 207 points, the game total. So over 193, I think, is a ripping bet. The Dogs have been piling on the goals in their first 2 weeks, and Adelaide gets some more firepower back with Rankin this week as well.
Are you concerned how high the traders are setting the total points lines at the moment?
Not for this game.
Last year, average was 168 per game. First week, 5 out of the 6 went over. Last week, still high scoring, but only 4 of the 9. I reckon the traders overreacted. And in a few weeks, I reckon you might get some unders.
Yeah, I think that's a fair call across the board. But for this game, with the amount of firepower that these two sides have, both forward of centre, 2 of the best forward lines in the competition, and also the fact that the Bulldogs, as well as they're going, they can still leak some goals. I've still got my concerns around them in being able to defend in transition. So beautiful conditions at the Adelaide Oval on a Friday night. The Crows scored well over 100 points in 5 out of the first 6 games last season. So I think 193 over
and
is a great bet.
5 key forwards in the game, 3 for Adelaide, 2 for the Dogs. All 5 will feel like they get a great matchup in this game. There's really good matchups for all 5. So it's a big number. But it's one I think, if you're watching the game, I think you want to be on the over.
And the puntability of this game is an A. You look at this game, most games where the two sides are up the top end of the ladder, so it's an A. So the Dogs' disposal, there's value in Liberatore, there's value in Bailey Dale, there's value in Ed Richards, a lot of other players getting the ball, Jakes at halfback, Butterick. So the Dogs' disposal getters, Adelaide forwards v Dogs back. I think there's an opportunity there for high scoring at both ends, which you can look at both ends and go, geez, there's some goal scoring options, and then that rolls into your total points over 193. So there are so many avenues to bet and to make some cash in this game.
Cracking game of footy. I mean, we probably expect these two to be, thereabouts that top 6 position towards the end of the season. And right now, with only 2 weeks into the season, we're just looking for little bits of improvement from every team on the back of last year. And Adelaide's ability to be able to move the footy last year was poor. It was bottom 6 compared to some of the best teams in the competition. Against Collingwood, it looked different. And someone like a Wayne Milera is going to be crucial to this ball movement game. His ability to be able to rack up the footy last week, 34 disposals, highest rated game of his career. They haven't really got the ball users behind centre to be creative and challenge some of the best teams, in the ball movement game. They brought Murray Davis across from Brisbane to Adelaide 2 years ago, and it looks like after 4 quarters of footy that this year they are trying to implement more of a Brisbane model. The high marking, high uncontested marking, work the footy around, which suits someone like him. So if Adelaide are to be an offensive threat this year, unlike they were last year, someone like Wayne Milera is going to play a crucial role for Adelaide this season.
All right, so you expect him to pick up plenty of the football again, because 25 plus, considering what he did last week, feels like a backable price.
They want the footy in his hands, and if they're going to play more of a marking game, which the early evidence suggests yes, then expect him to cash in off the back of that particular method.
Surely Adelaide look at last week and see Bontempelli 33 and kick 3. Surely they cannot allow him goal side on his left foot like they did last week. He's been the best player in the competition for 6, 7, possibly even 8 years, but running around on his own. If I'm Adelaide, I'm saying, Jordan Dawson, I want you to go head-to-head with their skipper. I want you to go one-on-one with him. It's not a tag, but I'm responsible for you at stoppages. I'm not allowing you to do what you want. His disposal line is 27.5, almost like shooting Bambi last week. Yeah. If he does play a little bit of time forward, surely they put time into Bontempelli.
I'm going with James Peatling. I'm not wasting one of my A-grade assets in Dawson on him. And I go back to James Peatling a couple of years ago in the final against Errol Goulden. He shut him out for 3 quarters. They led the game by 5 goals, and for some reason that tag was dropped in the last quarter. Errol Goulden went bananas. Still got that in my mind.
Is the body shape better for Ed Richards, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, potentially the body shape is definitely suited to a Dawson than a Bontempelli, but I'm trying to go after this game and win it with one of my assets and just trying to mitigate. I don't think you're going to be able to take all of Bont's influence completely away.
From a betting perspective, I think it's probably Dawson at stoppage. I think the size is an issue. Bontempelli will isolate, whether it's between the arcs inside 50, and will take Peatling to deep water. So I think he's suited to Ed Richards. You want to take him out as well. Bontempelli, his movement and what they're going to do with him is good in terms of Joel Frazier. Frazier's number's 17.5. Bont's been getting forward. Frazier's been going wing, half forward, and then when Bont spits forward, he's been playing mid, and he's been getting 3s and 4s in quick succession. So if you think Bont's going to play forward, I think Frazier's the bet.
It's why a lot of teams, I guess, don't give him the hard tag all the time, because he's such a difficult matchup if he moves to a different area of the ground. I mentioned that they do let goals, the Dogs. It's still a bit of a question mark in my mind. Does it present a bit of an opportunity for these big Adelaide forwards?
Absolutely it does. I mean, the last time these two teams clashed, the numbers were huge. 11 goals between them, 25 marks and 45 disposals. So they all feasted last year. Now, the Dogs are trying to implement a new system. They've used Karmas as more of a lockdown tall defender. But Thilthorpe one-on-one, we said it last week, against Billy Frampton, inside 50, he was going to be the one. And he's the one against anyone. If they can supply the footy to Thilthorpe, he'll do the job.
It looks like the Dogs are happy to actually concede a lot of ball in that midfield area of the ground, which is going to result in inside 50 to the opposition. We saw Brisbane have 60 plus. We saw GWS actually get their fair share of entries. If Adelaide get their fair share of entries with the talent that they have in that forward 50, that is going to pose a great challenge for the Dogs this early on in the season to see whether or not you have actually improved defensively.
Yeah, so a tick over $2 for 3, but if you want to play 4 or 5, you're looking at $4.30 or $8 for Thilthorpe. So that is a juicy little price. You think you can get on the end of a few, Browny?
Absolutely. I'm going to back him for 3. I think it's about $2.50. So multi for this game. Bailey Dale, I can't believe they moved him from half-back at three-quarter time last week.
You've got Bailey Dale.
Bailey Dale till I die. Josh Worrell, 21, just gets it for fun. And Riley Thilthorpe in there for 2, just a tick over $3.
And I hate to do this, he's one of my good mates, but the desk lad, Rory, under 25.5. I'd play that. I wouldn't play 24.5, but he won't be getting 25.
Interesting. Righto, give me a cracking game of footy, no doubt about that. Enjoy it. We'll be back in a bit here on In the Back Pocket. Welcome back to In the Back Pocket here ahead of the rest of round 2 in the footy. Nathan Brown, Daniel Hoyne and Joshy Jenkins are alongside me. And JJ, you wanted to take a look at the Premiership market because you think there might be some value. Yeah,
now this is less about the team I think will win it, but certainly I think this might be the best price you'll see about Geelong over the next little while. So they've got the bye, of course, this weekend. Then they play Adelaide. If they beat Adelaide and that game is in Geelong, they'll be $10, $11. So they were $21 earlier in the week. They've been trimmed up into $18. So look, I'm surprised they're a bigger price than, say, Adelaide or Fremantle or even the Western Bulldogs. I know they've started well, but this is a team who just proved time and time again they'll be there when the whips are cracking, Hoyney.
Why would they be? $18.
I think it's a great bet too.
I'm staggered by it.
They were 21 earlier in the week.
I didn't see that until you popped that. I flabbergasted by that. Like, this is a tight competition, and yeah, they were horrendous week 1, but they've just got over the line. They are going to start slow, and historically they've been around about that 50-50, at around round 8, round 9, and then they launch into it. And I'm with you. Like, they've got some home games early. I don't know if they will win it, but geez,
Collingwood, they were awful opening round last year, bounced back, and I think they were favourite for halfway through the season.
It's just a good ticket to have in your back pocket, and then you can start to chip away at other teams when I think the best time to bet some teams, we said this about Brisbane, is when they're going their worst, so you get the biggest price.
Well, every team is going to have a slump at some stage through the year, so you can build a bit of a book and you can head into the final series feeling pretty good about yourself if you play that market the right way. Richmond and the Gold Coast. So Richmond, big outsiders here in the head-to-head. I must admit, I think the line here, it's around 34.5. It's a great play for the Tigers. I think that's a massive head start. But they have been impressive, the Suns.
I love the way the Richmond played last week. You could tell they had a game style. They were very quick off half-back. They just couldn't quite finish their work off. But out of all the clubs down the bottom end of the ladder, you can see what they're trying to do.
Absolutely. If you're a Richmond supporter, all you're trying to see is two things. The kids that are coming through, and I think we can tick that off, and then a game style and how they're playing under Adam Rozee. There's a lot of aggressiveness, there's a lot of high speed, ball movement from the back half of the ground. So a lot of positives here, to why they can actually challenge Gold Coast, not get the win, but challenge them and be competitive.
I'll tell you what, there is zero value in the midfield in this game. You look at Petrarca, you look at Anderson, you look at Tuke Miller, there is zero value. I can't back them. So you've got to look to the halfback flankers, and there's a lot of halfback flankers in this game who will get the football. Noble is flying at the moment. Banks is flying. Jaden Short, 29 last week. I took Banks as my best last week at 22 plus. Joel Jeffrey had a big, and they're taking the kick-outs too. So not a heap of kick-outs, but you can be guaranteed they are going to take the kick-out. So that multi for those 4 players, I'm happy with. You've also got Bodie Ewell in there at halfback, who had a stack of it last week. And there's a lot of players on the halfback flanks in this game that I would take before the midfielders.
Just the one thing I will say about the Gold Coast, because I was looking at the Gold Coast mids, and Noble's the one who jumps off the page. So his last 2 against Richmond, he's averaged 28.5. His line's 24.5. So you're getting a fair bit of room to move there. Will Powell also only just getting it done. So he's cleared his line in his first 2 games. Only just. But again, he was the number 1 Gold Coast player for CBAs last week. So he's around the footy. And I think, Browny, you've played midfield. I haven't. You learn to accumulate. You learn to get 1-2s. You learn to win more of the footy. So I think as we go, if that line remains, we can keep betting Will Powell.
And the other one, you don't laugh at me here, but Ben Miller takes the kick-outs as well. He's actually a very good kick. For a cumbersome sort of robotic sort of man, they give him the kick-outs, and he's starting to get a lot more of the football. Last 6 games, he's had 12 plus disposals in every game. Now, this isn't a bet. This is one to put into your same-game multis. This is a leg in a same-game multi. 12 or 13 plus for Ben Miller. And I can see you all laughing at me at the moment, but let's reconvene next week and see that Ben Miller's had 13 plus and he's taken 4 kick-outs.
There's a saying, Brownie, without data, you're just a flog with an opinion. So I'm going with you there. I was surprised, but you can't argue the numbers.
I've got the data and I am a flog with an opinion.
You've got all the data, Hoyney. So tell us about an underrated player at Richmond who's doing some good things.
Yeah, Seth Campbell, just wanted to put him on the radar, for someone to watch throughout this season. And last year, he was a top 100 player in the competition, and it probably took the competition a little while to work out, is this guy damaging? Is he actually impactful? And what he does with ball in hand, there's so much creativity. He left a lot out on the table there last week. 17 disposals, seven disposals inside 50s. So, to have 0 goals last week, I reckon is a bit of a one-off. If he has that and brings that to the table most weeks, expect him to be a 2+ goal kicker more often than not. And with what Richmond have in the midfield group, that's probably the one area of concern is, can you have Taranto and Hopper in the same midfield group? they might look to evolve this guy and get him involved around the footy. He's got some quick feet. He's got some speed around there as a bit of a point of difference. So just keep an eye on what this guy can do for Richmond.
Alrighty. At halftime last week, I was feeling pretty good about the kiss of death. The Dockers were doing a number on the Cats,
yes.
but they fell in a heap. They're still pretty inconsistent, Freo, so some question marks there. But I'm going back to the well. I think the Saints finally get on the board this week, and I reckon 271's a great price for what I feel is a bit more of a 50-50 clash against the Giants. I don't feel like St Kilda are going anywhere near as bad as what the noise suggests. I think that's largely because of the expectation put on them with their off-season moves and also the talk that they sort of brought to the table themselves. But they've had opportunities to win both games. GWS only kicked 7 goals last week against the Western Bulldogs. So I think there's some question marks there. They're obviously missing key players too, the Giants. I think the Saints at 271 are a bet this weekend, Hoyney.
Yeah, we talked about GWS last week, and we thought that there was every chance that the Dogs might get a hold of them. Historically, they do. The Giants are missing a lot, which I think we could easily forget about after the round 0 performance against Hawthorn. So if you are going to get the Giants, now is the time to get them. In terms of what actually went wrong for GWS, I know Adam Kingsley would be sitting back at that game going, you know what, it actually wasn't as bad as the scoreboard suggested. We had it only losing by 30 points on expected scores. The Dogs kicked out of their backside, 4 goals from 450 stoppage, which is a bit of an anomaly, 5 goals from centre bounce, which is a bit of an outlier as well. So I don't think it's as bad for GWS as what the scoreboard suggested. But I'm with you on St Kilda. Like, they haven't been horrendous in their first 2 weeks, but you go up to GWS with all these injuries that they have. Now's the time to actually get them, and now's the time to get a win away from home.
I found the puntability on this game pretty hard, so I rated it a C because you look at the players you normally back, Ash and Whitfield, they're way too short. I can't back them at the prices they are. Look, you can't trust the St Kilda forwards. They get in there a lot and they drop it. There's so many players that drop the football and can't score. And where is Nazai going to play? So Nazai last year, you could back him confidently at half back, 27, 28 at the moment. He's at 18 and 19, but he's still at a price of 27 and 28. So you can't be backing Naz at the moment because you don't know where he's going to play.
He has gone from the best player in the game to back to the worst player in the game to back because, I mean, you can't, I honestly don't understand the obsession with playing him forward. Now, you and I were both calling the game last week. He kicked 3 goals. One was from general play. One was a little sort of, he was in a bit of space. So there weren't necessarily, there's that one great mark, but that's one. So to back him for 2 and 3 goals is a bit of a stretch, but I don't understand why he's not playing behind the ball. That's why he is the superstar that he now is, and that's where he was getting a lot of the footy. They seem to want to go mid to full forward and occasionally back. I'd be going mid back and then spell it full forward. I just don't get it at the moment.
He's going to be an intriguing watch, not just this week, but over the next couple of weeks. He looks to potentially shake the tag once again. Any other players that the Giants that you're keen to have a little look at here, JJ? Finn Callaghan, one of those?
Yeah, he's interesting. I mean, Marcus Windhager, he tagged and picked up a heap of the footy last week, over 30 disposals last week. So Windhager's now all of a sudden a player you can back with confidence. I was on him last week, and when I saw him go to Cozzy, I thought, well, I'm done. I can't win here. But he still was able to roll back and pick his spots to win plenty of the footy. So he is physically a good size for Finn Callaghan. Wouldn't surprise me if they try to take him out. Even if he does, you can still be on Windhager confidently enough.
Alrighty, Sam Flanders has been spoken about a lot this week, I suppose, with his impact and maybe potentially lack of, but in terms of betting proposition this weekend, JJ, can we get involved?
Great proposition.
We don't care. We don't care about the impact on this show. We care about the numbers, and importantly, so Jack McRae comes out of this team, which I think is important because it's just going to add to what Flanders needs to do around the footy. Mateus Philippou, who we talked about in the pre-season as someone they want to improve around the footy, he might not play in this game. He came out of the game last week with a corky. So Flanders just has to be there, and he's prolific, and he is one of those players that gets 1s, 2s, 3s in quick bunches. So happy to play him at 27.5. If that goes up to 28.5, maybe we stay out.
He's just bankable because, with all due respect to him, he's not someone that's going to get the tag. He hasn't got that impact. So he is an accumulator. He's always been an accumulator, and now he is going to be playing more midfield minutes. You just know what you're going to get. He's going to rack up a lot of footy for St Kilda's sake. You hope that footy becomes more impactful than what it actually has been so far. But just bankable would be the way that I would sum up Sam Flanders.
What about Tom De Koning? Can we get a response out of Tom De Koning this week? I thought at halftime last week he might have even had the edge over Max Gawn before Gawn went to another level.
I'm backing him in.
Yep.
I'm backing him in this week. There's no shame to be beaten by Max Gawn.
No.
The greatest ruckman of this century so far. Unbelievable, particularly in the second half. Dean Cox is obviously in that conversation as well. But Tom De Koning, it's amazing how when you get beaten, there's stories around the flu come out after that. But if they had a won, I tell you what, there'll be no flu stories coming out. But that's another thing. I'm happy to back him this week. In the ruck against the Giants, who allow a lot of ruck disposals. That was last year. So Tom De Koning disposals over this week. I think he bounced. Like you said, I didn't think he was that bad in the second half. In the first half, got absolutely routed in the second half. So back him in.
He got
no
worn
flu
out
this week.
He got worn out, and he's like a man we're about to speak about, Luke Jackson. He needs Marshall. Now Marshall hopefully gets back from the concussion protocols because De Koning has got a little bit of Nick Nat Nui in him. He needs to play low game time, high energy when he's around the footy, and I just think Max Gawn wore him out last week.
Well, this does lead me to my best bet on Saturday, and it comes up Saturday night. Freo taking on Melbourne. I don't think there's much value in the head-to-head market, but I want to get involved here with the Dockers to score over 104.5. So that's the line that the traders have drawn up. Even though Melbourne won last week, they conceded over 100 points. They've got a new system in place. I think the Dockers would have had a good look at how St Kilda were able to expose that. And their first half against the Cats last week was excellent. So they've got plenty of firepower. I wouldn't be shocked at all if they score heavily against the D's here.
Yeah, we spoke last week around all we want to see from Fremantle is, are they going to change with the way in which they move the footy and be more aggressive? And from what we saw last week against Geelong, that was the most aggressive that we've seen a Fremantle team move the footy under Justin Longmuir. So, and it looked brilliant and it ran aground in the last 30 minutes after Geelong took their time to settle in and play their way. But I think if Fremantle play that way consistently, with the talent that they have ahead of the footy, on the deck, their key forwards, their midfield brigade to be able to charge centre, I don't think Melbourne right now are a team where you're looking and going, geez, defensively they're going to be rock solid for the first 6 or 8 weeks. They're going to give you a good look. They gave a team in St Kilda 107 points last week who struggled to score the week before. So 104 points or whatever it was is a big line, but I think I'm with you there.
And coming off a 6-day break as well, the D's, so just something to be aware of. Who cashes in then for the Dockers?
Well, I love Andy Brayshaw in this spot. He was bizarrely quiet. Had 14 disposals last week. Now I had a look at some of his numbers when he plays a poor game. So 3 times last year he went under 20. On the follow-up, on the backup, he averaged over 30 disposals in those 3 games. So when he has a poor game, proud player, he responds in a big, big way. And he's a player like Flanders. He's a better, more damaging player than Flanders, but he won't get tagged very often. It'll be Serong, it'll be Hayden Young when he's out there. So that guy's pretty bankable as well.
Melbourne didn't tag last week, though. Serong pretty much had Atkins, not as a run-with player, but it was an awareness. So he didn't have all his own way last week. Still had 30. And, geez, he looked sharp. His running ability last week. Now he gets back to his own home ground. No tag for the Demons.
What about...
I'm expecting... I'm going to take him for 30, Serong. But I wouldn't be surprised if you're looking at 35, 36.
What about... We might have just... What about the Tholstrup Seeker? We've got the Thrill Seeker. What about... He... I mean, when you... Like Perryman, we sort of stumble across a potential tagger. He might be the only worry there.
I've also got a bit of a theory on Tolstrup as well. He's only tagged once in his career, really. He may not have that role this week. If he's walking forward at the start of the game, because that's where he's predominantly played, have a look at him for goal kicking, because he's 235 to kick a goal. So that's a watch 2 minutes out from the game. Brownlow tracker, Browny?
Brownlow tracker.
Yes.
Let's get straight into it because I've got Christian Petrarca on top in the Brownlow at the moment.
Yes.
You could have given it to Anderson, the 3 votes. You could have given it to Big Witsy. But just the narrative around him at the moment, and he did it early. Kicked 3 goals early. Dacos 2 in his game. Bontempelli I thought was a clear 3, and McInerney and Ed Richards wouldn't have voted last week. So at the top of and then you got Stringer, who's got a 3. He's obviously 501. Your man, Milera, Connor McDonald, Jagger Smith I gave 3 votes to against Richmond, and Max Holmes at a bigger price. Don't be surprised if he's in the top 5 of the Brownlow medal this year.
I'm not sure if Jagger Smith can win the Brownlow in his first season, but he might win the Rising Star team. I think there's a lot of punters, particularly multiplayers, who'll be hoping that's the case. $1.72. I still think there's an opportunity to bet around him, but I haven't found my man yet. Talk to me.
I agree. I mean, it's 1 game, 2 games into an AFL season, he's $1.70. It's just who's going to beat him.
How many goals does Cooper Trembath need to kick this year to be the rising star?
Good question.
Well, Jai Amos kicked 41 and didn't win it, so there's a decent number. I'm not sure how many Jesse Hogan kicked back in the day, but it is an award you can win as a key position player. Daniel Talia won it, so I like keep an eye on Trembath. Maybe get in now.
Yeah, I think 40 would give you a bit of a sniff there. Righto, same game multi-time. Let's have a look at that. So this is what I'm doing here with the Saints, who I think are a great chance to knock off the Giants. And when you like an upset, I think that's the best chance to actually put on a same game multi because you're getting the best head-to-head value. So then you add on Jack Silvani 6+ marks. I thought he started to warm into the game nicely last week. He's finding his groove down there, down back, and Jackie Higgins kicked a couple and missed a couple as well. So if the Saints get it done, I like those extra couple to boost the value there with the same game multi.
Nice.
I reckon Jack Higgins with the 2+ goals, that's close to a lock, I think. With what, just GWS give you a bit of a sniff going back the other way, and there's no one who sniffs an opportunity better than what Jack Higgins does.
He runs well forward, doesn't
he? Does.
You poured the cold water on my best bet last week, Hoyney, and you're all over it. So it's nice to feel like you're coming with me this
We're a team here, Matty. We're a team.
Exactly right. Looking forward to the footy. On a Saturday, we'll be back in a bit here on In the Back Pocket. Welcome back to In the Back Pocket. Matt Nevett is my name. Nathan Brown, Daniel Hoyne and Josh Jenkins are alongside me. And we love the Sportsbet feed team. All of our best bets go up there each and every week. And we also like to see what bets have been put up by the punters out there and the general public. And then decide whether or not they're good bets or not. So Sweet Louie's decided that the West Coast Eagles aren't going to win a game until round 12. And then you get on at $19.
I don't mind that. You've got to overcome this. Now, West Coast for the Wooden Spoon was my favourite futures bet of the year, so I'm all in. If that's their first win, I'm happy because that's a fair way away.
Is that an Essendon home game though?
I reckon that would be a
Where it
West
says
Coast
H?
home game.
Round 12.
We think that's at home for West Coast.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Either way, I mean, surely
$14 a big price.
Brad Scott's in.
They'll win a game. They will win a
And
game.
if it's that one, Brad Scott's in some bother.
And they got close to it.
I agree.
Yeah, here's another one. So Jesse Hogan win the Coleman, just taking a little while to warm up. Didn't kick a snag last week. I don't mind Grill, rising star. He might be the knockout there if Jagger goes under. And I do like Nick Dacos for the Brownlow. Going to be very hard to beat. So
Can't take that one. Can't take that one.
Can't take it.
Only got to have 50 cents on it.
562 to 1.
I don't think Jesse Hogan's going to win it, and I don't think Grill's going to win it.
Well, if that multi gets up, we'll revisit
Yeah,
it.
we certainly will.
2 out of 3, eh?
Hopefully the theory you don't bet on bad teams is a thing on a Sunday because we're not really dealing with the cream of the crop here, but this is what we've got. These are the cards we've been dealt. Port Adelaide and Essendon. Both coming off, very disappointing performances.
Two worst of the weekend, I think, last week.
That's
You
a fair
couldn't
call.
back them at $1.37 though, Port Adelaide, could you? On what you saw last week, you couldn't back Essendon either.
No, you couldn't back the other mob either.
So you're going to have to go disposals. Now, this is them looking pretty dejected after the game. They need to bounce back hard, but $1.37, no thanks. I'm out on Port Adelaide.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's a little bit too short, but I think from where Essendon are at the moment, they are young and as young as they're going to be for a long time. Port Adelaide bouncing back at home. They've got stars where the stars need to be, and we'll talk about a couple of them shortly. They really should be getting the job done, and if they don't get the job done this weekend, then there's going to be some serious questions posed.
I want to highlight some game time for some of the Bombers mids last week, and it is low. Have a look at some of these game times here. Port Adelaide players in the 80s, but Essendon midfielders and halfbacks, 72, 69, 61. They are the bottom 6 players. The only two with less game time was Archer May and Dyson Sharp. So 2 really young players.
Yeah.
I look at that and go, how could you back Essendon midfielders if they're 10, 12, 13% less game time than players on the opposition? Zach Merrett had a fair bit, so you can probably back in with confidence. But you'd be looking at Connor Rozee, you're looking at Butters. Unless you know they're going to play 80% game time, how could you back the Bombers midfielders? The price will look okay, and the disposal over underline will look okay, but there's no game time. You've got to have a look at how much game time they're playing to get those disposals.
No, it's a good point, and you just alluded to there, Connor Rozee and him playing 84% game time last week. I just want to put him on the agenda. I think he could potentially be the most overrated player in the competition that we have at the moment. I mean, I feel like he gets overs for what he is. He's never been a top 75 player in the competition. He looks good and he does have some games, but his consistency last week he was poor. Now, this is what he did against Essendon 2 years ago, gather round. And these sort of performances stick in your head, and I think that's why people just assume that, you know, he's an out-and-out star of our competition. He will get a good look against Essendon this week, and off the back of a poor performance as a footy club last week against North Melbourne. And as captain, you would expect him to bounce back and potentially deliver a performance like he did against Essendon a couple of years ago. So hopefully he does that for Port Adelaide's sake, but more so for the rest of the season. He needs that consistency to become the player I think a lot of the industry think he is.
Written and authorised by Daniel Hoyne.
Very strong, Hoyney. I like it.
But I agree. He and Zach Butters need to stand up. And Jason Horne-Francis to an extent as well. Now, if Horne-Francis is not fit enough to perform, there's being fit enough to play and fit enough to perform. And I wonder whether Horne-Francis is fit enough to perform, because spoke to one of their assistant coaches before the game and they said, we're trying to condition him during the week and play him on the weekend. That's not easy. That never works. And it's showing in the way he played on the weekend. So I agree. The best players for Port Adelaide, which is the reason they're going to be able to be competitive if they are the ones that have to play well.
It's too much Butters or nothing for me.
Yeah,
and that's it. And this guy, as I said, a lot of people like him and respect what he does. It's time that he does it and does it more often.
All right, well, the other game on a Sunday, and people love to bet on a Sunday too. Fourth highest turnover game this time slot last week, despite the fact this weekend doesn't look all that sexy in terms of the teams that are playing. But the Kangaroos were back with a bang to start 2026, JJ, and you've made them your best bet this weekend.
I have, with some trepidation, but look, they've always had the potency around the footy, and they've had some potential and some talent inside 50. We know about Nick Larkey, close enough to, Coleman medal winner, All-Australian, all that sort of stuff. Zurhaar's talented. Paul Curtis, we've spoken about him, pound for pound, one of the best players in the competition at his position. And I think they've just got too much scope against the West Coast. West Coast ranked last in all the key categories. So the Roos get an opportunity. And if they get beaten straight up in this game, the Roos, last week doesn't count. It doesn't matter. You can erase what they did last week.
If you look at it from a North Melbourne perspective for the last 18 months, how they win games of footy is simple. It's off the back of pure clearance domination. They blew the game open in a 10-minute period towards the back end of half-time last week through absolute clearance domination. You look at West Coast concerns, and yes, they have a lot of concerns, but front and centre is that midfield and the issue around their clearance game. They should walk in, have the absolute confidence off the back of Cherry, LDU, Sheasel, all these guys, get the job done, attack their weakness and walk away with not just a victory, but walk away with a comfortable victory. I don't think we wanted to see them just scrape over the line and sit here. Do it with absolute authority off the back of your stars around the ball.
So we think the Kangaroos will win, and that means they have to kick enough goals to win. So that brings Larkey in, and it brings in Cooper Trembath, who's $34 for the rising star at the moment. But have a look at what he's done. He's only played 4 games, Cooper Trembath, and he's kicked 3 goals in every one of those games. So there's no reason why he can't kick another 3 against probably the most depleted defence in the competition. Larkey is at the same 3 goals, but $1.90. So the 2 big prices. I'm happy to back both of these guys, back him at $1.90 and back him at $3.50, because if they win, there's going to be goals on offer.
Love it.
He's the first player in 35 years to kick 3+ goals in each of his 4 games. Like, at 35 years, it's incredible what he's been able to actually do. So, good on him.
Yep, and well, for Kangas fans, hopefully they can go 2 from 2. I'm with you, JJ. I'm going to make that one of the better bets of the weekend. Goes in every multi this week. Brownie, the Streakers segment, we're starting to get on a bit of a roll here. We're going all right.
The premise of it is you start with $100 and then it rolls every week. So you invest all your winnings every week, and we're on a roll at the moment.
All right, well, let's take a look at how you went last week.
The kitty is up to 122. All of that 122 this week goes on James Sicily at 17+ disposals.
Stand! Sicily, a good mark. Sicily goes inside 50 with a beautiful ball. Back to Durham. That's too easy.
All right, so we're looking the goods, 146.40 in the bank. You've gone with 2 pretty big names the last couple of weeks, Brownie, so I'm just getting a little bit nervous looking at the
nothing
name
like
page.
Me anyway. But rolling it in, and the rules are it's a minimum $1.20. Dylan Stephens is my best bet across the whole round at 21 touches this week, so all I'm asking for Dylan is 16. I think he's arrived. I think he's figured out how to play football. It'll take him a long time to figure out how to play football. But at 16+, $1.25, happy with my Streakers bet, because it's going to keep rolling, and then it'll be my shout at the end of the year.
Are you nervous?
No, Dylan. I'm backing
Should
Dylan.
he be?
Geez, absolutely. I don't know.
I think
I
he
would be
should.
a little bit nervy on that.
On the wing against
I
West
think he
Coast.
will
He'll
get
be
there.
fine.
But
He'll
we
be
fine.
we haven't
Australians
seen
to
this guy
Dylan
do
Stephens.
do it multiple weeks. So
Come on,
we'll
Dylan.
tune in at 6 o'clock with some nerves and excitement.
Alrighty, Luke Parker, the defender, boys. Luke Parker, the defender.
Yeah, and I was surprised to see this move last Sunday, but it sort of reminds me a little bit of what Jack Zeeble did towards the end of his career when he went behind the footy, and to use your term, Browny, he took a fair few of the kick-outs as well on the weekend. And I think if he's going to be playing this role, he's going to be pretty consistent with around that 23-24 disposal mark, and just to be able to guide that back group there for North Melbourne. So there's someone to just keep an eye on, moving forward with North.
All right, well, the producers have drawn up a same-game multi off
Hello.
all of
From
our
our bets.
thoughts. They've tried to combine everything. Rozee 25 plus, Butters 25 plus, so bang bang, the mids go mad there. Merrett, well, he had a heap of it on the outside last week, and Parker 20 plus.
Nice.
What do we think?
Like
Getting
it.
on?
Yeah.
Feedback either way.
All right.
Producers have done well.
Hopefully we can land it. We'll be back next week on In the Back Pocket.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.